FM in San Jose, province of the Nagat Islands, as known to be the mystical island, not only in Caraga region but all over the archipelago, with so many untouched, unexplored, virgin destination sites which worth, of course, visiting. Maybe when this pandemic is done, when everything is over, we can visit and enjoy the places in the province of the Naga Islands. Good morning and welcome also to all our regional and local partners of the Philippine Population Management Program, to all population officers, workers, and volunteers, and to all health, social welfare, agriculture, civil register, agrarian reform, officers, workers, and even to their volunteers down in the 1,310 barangays of Caraga region. We are excited for today because at the national level is the launching of the 2021 State of the World Population Report, or State of World Population, as titled Bodily Autonomy is Fundamental Human Right. This is among the advocacy of the Commission on Population and Development to ensure, of course, the right among women over their own body and self, free from any form of discrimination and abuses. Because even within the relationship between husband and wife, even within the domestic or family matters, there are what we call as discrimination against women. And for this matter, gender and development not only integrated into the responsible parenthood and family planning program, but the rest of the strategic components of the Philippine Population Management Program. The entire program is not only gender sensitive but gender responsive, which means that the different components of the Philippine Population Management Program have been designed to contribute also in addressing the different issues and concerns affecting women in different ages, in different levels, in different societies, even with different beliefs, attitudes, and culture. Again, good morning and welcome for today's episode of the POPCOM Virtual Academy. And for today's episode, we have for our Pop News, POPCOM strengthens partnership with CSOs. POPCOM participates in online conferences and abuses among women recorded in Cabadbaran City. And in our Pop Talk, we will have the second part, yes, of our discussion on how population size, age, sex, and structure, distribution of the population affect the basic services, particularly the determination and the provision of the services to the general public. And meanwhile, for our population support or POP support, we will be hearing the testimonies of three of the population officers in Caraga region. The Municipal Population Officer of San Francisco, Surigao del Norte, the Municipal Population Officer of Makinano, Surigao del Norte, and of course, the City Population Officer of Surigao City. For your questions, comments, and suggestions, please send in to our official numbers, as you can see right on the screen. In our POPCOM Caraga Responsible Parenthood Family Planning Helpline 0995-155-0746, or in 0951-0419-159, Or you can also send in your question, comment, or recommendation through our POPCOM on-air hotline 0945221758 or 0949414141. You can also send in the answer for our population quiz for today, May 19, 2021, but only after this quick reminder. For today's pop quiz, in our May 19, 2021 episode of Popcorn Virtual Academy, what is the letter M stands for the PPMP, the program which is coordinated by the POPCOM to the various agencies of the government, to the civil society organizations, and to the local government units. The program, which POPCOM carries out from the national down to the community level. What is the letter M stands for in the complete name of the program? PPMP. Okay? If the first letter P is Philippines, and the second letter P is population, with the third letter P is program, what is letter M stands for? You would know the answer once you would continue, of course, sticking with us for the rest of this episode. When we get back, the details for our top news. For the details of our top news, first on the headlines. POPCOM strengthens partnership with civil society organizations. For the details, Mr. Mark Gonzaga, please come in.
The Commission on Population and Development Caraga strengthened its program campaign by working with civil society organizations to provide quality information and services to couples and individuals about responsible parenthood, family planning, and to young people about adults and health and development at the community level. POPCOM Caraga entered into Memorandum of Understanding with Sibug Katauhan Alang sa Paglambo Incorporated, Friendship Goal Society Caraga, and Hope Radio Philippines Butuan early this year to conduct a massive demand generation activities to various communities in the region. Sibug Katauhan Alang sa Paglambo, also known as SICAP Incorporated, was born in 2006 out of genuine aspiration for its founding partners for transformative and genuinely sustainable community development work. The professed aspiration was born out on founding partners' first-hand knowledge of and actual experiences working with vulnerable communities, as the latter demonstrated their desire for respectable and improved quality of living. Hope Radio Philippines is a religious network of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Philippines. Its TV stations are owned by Gateway UHF Television Broadcasting, while Digital Broadcasting Corporation owns its radio stations. Founded and launched on September 26, 2010 in the southern Philippines. The agency is currently broadcasting to their radio station through DXIM 93.5, Hope Radio Philippines Butuan. Meanwhile, the Friendship Goal Society Caraga Butuan is a non-government organization whose vision and mission are to create a harmonious society for adolescents and youth by providing necessary information and knowledge to youth leaders to mentor others. This is Matt Gonzaga, ang pamilyang planado, protektado.
Meanwhile, POPCOM participates in various online conferences. For the details, Ms. Sharina Lagunde, please come in.
The Regional Office of the Commission on Population and Development, or POPCOM Caraga, confirmed its attendance to various online conferences scheduled for May 2021. POPCOM Caraga's entire workforce participated in a virtual meeting on performance planning and commitment, which aimed to improve the organization's and individuals' performance in line with the agency's goals. Administrative Officer 5 Mr. Florencio C. Marafantes and Human Resource Management Officer Ms. Catherine May Tacubao attended the Civil Service Commission's orientation on competency-based area learning needs assessment and individual development plan training during the first week of May. Regional Director Alexander A. Makinano, on the other hand, attended the Provincial Development Council or PDC sectoral committees and full council meetings, and presented the Demographic Vulnerabilities Tool or DVT and Registry of Barangay Inhabitants and Migrants or RBIM. The online conferences were held and attended by different sectors and government agencies in the province. Moreover, RD Makinano will join the upcoming National Regional Consultation of the Subcommittee on International Migration and Development or SCIMD. The aforementioned conference will address regional issues and concerns to which the head of office contributed and proposed an agenda. Director Makinano highlighted that these conferences provide an opportunity to improve the agency's service delivery and recognize its efforts in implementing the population management programs. This is Charina May Alagunde, ang Pamilyang Planado, Protektado.
And finally, for our pop news, abuses among women recorded in Kabadbaran. For the details, here's Mr. Gino Concan.
The city of Cabadbaran reported a total of 38 cases of violence against women for the first quarter of 2021, with the following breakdown: 8 physical abuses, 8 psychological abuses, and 4 economic abuses. The city of Cabadbaran reported a total of 38 cases of violence against women for the first quarter of 2021, with the following breakdown: 8 physical abuses, 8 psychological abuses, and 4 economic abuses. On February, 6 psychological abuses and 2 economic abuses. And in March, 4 physical abuses, 2 psychological abuses, and 2 economic abuses. The data was released by the City's Social Welfare and Development to the Commission on Population and Development Caraga. Based on the data collected, the abuses were reportedly occurred in these following barangays: La Union, Del Pilar, Mabini, Tolosa, and Kalibunan. The said barangay has 3,205 women residents between 15 to 19 years old. 2,907 women are ages between 25 to 29 years old who are frequently the victims of such violence, and 79,287 of residents, about 71.9% of women was attending in school. POPCOM is campaigning for happier and healthier families in safer communities under its Philippine Population Management Program tagline, Matatag, Maginhawa at Planadong Pamilya. This is Gino Concan, ang Pamilyang Planado, Protektado.
The Commission on Population and Development as continuously coordinating with the various agencies of the national government, with the local government units, and with the private sector, including, of course, the civil society organizations, is maintaining the tagline known as Matatag, Maginhawa, at Planadong Pamilyang Pilipino. This is POPCOM's contribution in the long-term development plan of the government, which is popularly known as the Ambition Natin 2040. In the Ambition Natin 2040, everyone is dreaming of matatag, maginawa, at panatag na buhay para sa lahat. Among, of course, the descriptions or the descriptives of the matatag, maginawa, at planadong pamilya or panatag na buhay para sa lahat is happy family, is safe family in a stable, and empowered communities. That is why we are also looking into the various issues and concerns affecting both men and women at all levels, at the family, workplace, and even at the community in general. But the data shows that mostly of those who are affected are the women. Women in various stages and women in different, of course, categories. And in the last report, we have learned that there are different forms of abuses committed, perpetrated, and affecting the health and safety among women. In the various episodes of our POPCOM Virtual Academy, and even in our radio communication and advocacy program, we have discussed how, of course, POPCOM is working with the various local government units in managing various responses against any pandemic, including this COVID-19. As we introduce in the various episodes of both the online and radio program, POPCOM is assisting the communities, the 1,310 communities in Caraga region to make the demographic vulnerabilities tool as the baseline of managing responses against COVID at the household and community level. POPCOM never rested in having the DBT, but also continued in setting up other tools right at the community level to make the efforts more focused, more segmentized, and prioritizing the most vulnerable individual, the most vulnerable family in the most vulnerable part of the entire community. This is the registry of barangay inhabitants and migrants. The registry of barangay inhabitants and migrants, as well as the demographic vulnerabilities, both suggest that the composition of the population in the community should be ideally the basis of making the different policies, plans, and programs. This should determine also the service requirements for the general public. In today's episode, let us continue our discussion how population composition would determine the service requirements at the community level. This is POPCOM's way of supporting the entire, of course, or the whole of the nation approach against this pandemic. Only after this quick reminder.
Community organizer, mobilizer, director of the Sibog Kapaglambo SICAP based in
Sir.
In the previous episode of the POPCOM Virtual Academy, as well as in the previous episode of our radio communication and advocacy program, we were saying that population composition determines the service requirements for the general public, especially at the community level. When we say population composition as a matter of review, we are referring to population size, age and sex structure of the population. Third, distribution of the population. This size, age and sex structure and distribution of the population in the community should be the reference in creating and providing the basic services. And these basic services would respond to the needs and demands of the entire population or the greatest majority of the population. These needs and demands range from health, education, adolescent health, employment, maternal health, and even elderly concerns. In addressing the basic needs and demands of the greatest majority of the population in the community, the age structure should be also determined for the programming and planning would base also on how long this particular basic services is needed by this particular segment of the total population. And how many of the total population or what particular percentage of the total population needing this particular basic services. This is the graph which I showed to all of you in yesterday's episode of the POPCOM Virtual Academy. As we continue, if the community would be experiencing a dramatic increase of its population, that would affect the capability of the community in providing the basic services. There is a great tendency that the available basic services and that the available fiscal and man-made resources as well as the environment and natural resources might be inadequate in providing the basic services to the growing number of the population. Thus, it would create a undesirable picture or status among the population in the said community. The increasing number of the population would also affect, of course, not only the capability of the government in providing the basic services, but also the quality of life among the population in the said community. Naturally, if the population is receiving inadequate services from both the government and the private sector, then this would also translate to poorer health, education, nutrition, economic status among the population in the community. Everything started with the population composition. And again, when we say population composition, size, age, sex structure, and distribution of the population. Basically, the population composition determines the services as created and provided by both the public and private sectors. If the population growth has been properly managed by both the government and the private sector, or mainly by the government with the help of the private sector, then this would be very beneficial on the part of the government. The government can adequately respond to the needs and demands of the total population by providing adequate basic services. If basic services are adequately provided by the government, naturally it will translate to better quality of life, in which can be seen on a better health status among the population, better nutritional status, better educational status, better economic status of the population. The better health, nutrition, education, economic status started in the provision of services adequate or enough to the total needs and demands of the total population. However, it started again with the size of the population that is manageable against the availability of resources of the government. To continue, to help also the public and the private sector in managing, of course, responses against COVID, in continuously planning, implementing, and managing programs and projects. We have to dichotomize also the population composition. We have to go deeper into the age and sex structure of the population. And this is another way also of looking the entire population of the community. The population of the community can be also described through the number of infants and children. The number of infants and children, those who belong to the 0 to 4 age bracket in the different age brackets of the entire population pyramid. As you can see in this particular example, the base of the entire population pyramid, which is supposed to be strong to hold the entire structure, and that the entire structure would not fall, is the infant and child, or the infants and children age, okay, group. Second, let us also look into the next age groups in the entire population pyramid, starting the age 5 to the age 24. Passing, of course, the four age, okay, groups 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, as well as 20 to 24, which are said to be the school age population. And in these four age groups from 5 to 24, this consider as well both the male and the female population. In identifying the services needed for these particular age groups, should also consider the total number on every age groups and both the male and the female, okay, segment of the entire population. The third way of looking the entire population is also on the number of the age group starting 15 to 64. 15 to 19 until the 65, 60 to 64 age groups, which are called as the working age population. So this is very important, especially on the economic aspect of the entire community. Because this particular segment of the total population are expected, are supposed and ideally would support the young 0 to 4, 5 to 9, and 10 to 14 age groups, and the 65 and above age groups, both the young and the old dependents. If the 15 to 64 age groups can or economically productive, they can support well the needs and demands of the young and the old. And this is what do good for the entire community. On the contrary, if the 15 to 64 is not doing well on its economic activity or their economic activities, this would create also a undesirable picture, for this would translate into higher dependency burden on the part of the working age group, with a higher dependency ratio, working age group against the young and the old dependents. Another way of looking the population of the community is also of the total number of those belonging to 15 to 49 age groups. The age group 15 to 49 on the female population are called as the women of reproductive age. What does this picture or this information suggest to the government and the private sector? This is the total number of the entire population which might be capable to bear a child. And if this is the total number of the entire population that can possibly bear the child, then this is also the total number of the population that can possibly add to the existing number or the total population of the community. Which simply means if there are more women of the reproductive age, the higher the probability that there would be more pregnancies and more births and more children would be delivered, adding to the 0 to 4 age group in the entire population. And finally, let us also consider the 15 or the 14 to 19 age groups in the entire population. For these are the age groups which are experiencing physical, emotional, biological, and relational changes, which, if they fail to accurately address and absorb the well-defined support mechanism, this would become a reason for making irresponsible decision. And among the responsible decisions is engaging in early or adolescent or teen sex, which is described to be highly spontaneous, thus unprotected and protected from sexually transmitted infections or the risk of getting pregnant at an early age. Again, population composition would determine service requirements. Service requirements means the wants and needs of the population. Ideally, whatever being provided by the government as a form of basic services with the help of the private sector would equal to the needs and demands of the total population. But the question, can the government and the private sector afford? Is their fiscal and man-made resources adequate to determine and implement the basic services in addressing adequately the needs and demands of the population? This is always a question that should be answered not only at the societal level but also at the family level. In reality, population continues to rise. Our number continue to increase. And every one of the entire population has unlimited needs and demands. Having this reality, we are also faced on another reality that we have limited fiscal and man-made resources. Third, our environment and natural resources are also limited. With the limitation of our natural resources, producing limited fiscal and man-made resources, thus, we could not totally or completely address the needs and demands of the entire population. Thus, it would translate to the challenge of scarcity. So, scarcity is the product of unlimited needs and demands against limited resources, both man-made and natural resources. The more that we have really to plan. Planning is very much important, especially during this pandemic. We are reminded that in this particular pandemic, we are facing invincible and invisible enemy known as COVID-19. However, the fact stays that we have only limited fiscal and natural resources. With this reality, we have to be more specific. We have to segmentize. And as a result, we have to prioritize those who are mostly vulnerable. The population that are highly vulnerable to the infection shall be the priority of the responses of the pandemic. Again, we are reminded that the programs and projects of the government should base, of course, on the facts, figures, or statistics. Having reliable database would help the communities in designing the most appropriate interventions and implementing these interventions in the form of projects and activities more efficiently and effectively. As the principle of policy making and program development said, for us to do the right thing, we must know the truth. Our actions must be based on facts and figures. To know more about how population will impact the development, and specifically how population would impact to the health status of the community, please let us know through the numbers that you can see right on the screen, or please write us and send us your communication to any available lines of the Commission, Population, and Development. Caraga region. Ah, POPCOM Caraga is supporting also the various initiatives at the international and national level. In fact, the efforts of POPCOM Caraga are always aligned to the national and even to the international trust and direction. This month, the month of May 2021, POPCOM is joining the entire world in launching the State of the World Population, the State of World Population, which is anchored on its theme, bodily autonomy is a fundamental human right. This is one of the advocacy of POPCOM, sharing, of course, with the advocacy of every country that every woman, every child should have the right over her own body and her own self. In a way, they should be free from various forms of abuses and discrimination. POPCOM launches here in the country the 2021 State of the World Population. The month of May also is a celebration of the World No Tobacco Day. POPCOM also supports this advocacy in order to guarantee the healthy lifestyle, especially among men as husbands, among men as fathers, and among men as members of the community. In our responsible parenthood and family planning, under the male reproductive health, we have the project known as KATROPA. KATROPA stands for Kalalakihang Tapat, Kalalakihang Tumutugon, both tapat and tumutugon, maura na siya, which suggests, of course, faithful, loyal. Kalalakihang tumutugon sa responsibilidad at obligasyon sa pamilya at asawa. Katropa. As we are saying in our own dialect, kung nagmahal ka sa imong asawa, kung nagpangga ka sa imong mga anak, kung maayo ka nga miyembro sa katilipan, katropa ka ni Presidente Rodrigo Duterte. Katropa. So, among, of course, the advocacy under the katropa is the healthy lifestyle, guaranteeing the healthy, of course, self among men, particularly during this national health emergency. Because as men are healthy, as men are safe, as men are strong, we could, of course, provide the needs and demands of the members of our family. This is another way of balancing the importance of human life and, of course, economic activity. As we continue our economic activity, because we are healthy, we are safe, and we are strong, we can also ensure, okay, the protection and the promotion of human life. And finally, we are also commemorating and supporting the rest of the nations for the International Day of Families. In saying that we have to protect the families from all challenges as brought about by this new normal, in which everyone are mostly dependent to the technology. Technology has both sides. It can work for and it can work against the family. This is the time when the parents are needed to always supervise, guide your children, protect your children from different forms of source of information that are not beneficial to the growth and development of your children. Help the government, help the society by ensuring that your children are getting the right, the correct, accurate, and safe information that would help them make the most responsible decision. This entire campaign of the Commission on Population Development is shared also down at the community level with the help of the population officers, workers, and the barangay population volunteers. In this episode, let us hear also the testimonies of the member of the entire population community in Caraga region.
Good morning sa inyo mga bisita gikan sa region. Ako si Mrs. Lourdes J. Cortez. Niya ma-assign sa MSWDO o hatagan usab ni Mayor o dugang trabahoon taglaong pa sa local municipal population officer o gitahasan sa pag himo og mga programa parte sa family planning o subo nga palandungon kay bago pa man po July 3 gitagaan og designation wala na mo ma-implement ang mga programa nga dapat pahibalo sa barangay nga naatay bagong mga programa nga ihatag sa mga labi na sa mga magtiayon nga mga batanon nga doon na kay family planning program nga i-implement unta sa ila o hantod karon wala man tigadyon ang maong mga patawag o programa nga anhi unta diri i-held sa barangay poblasyon tungod sa pandemya o manghinaot ko nga kung marisolbar na ning programa o pandemic karon sa atong nasod na matigadyon ning mga programa nga ihatag aron usasab ni makatabang sa mga magtiayon labi na sa mga batanon nga nagsugod pa sila sa ilang pagpundar sa ilang pamilya.
Mayang adlaw. Ako si Edwin Villanueva, OIC City Population Office sa Surigao City. Ang akong ikasulti may tungod sa pagkarong sitwasyon mao nga ang kining pandemic doon ay mga advantages o disadvantages na nakita namo. Usa sa advantages, nakahatag ini ng time para sa staff o sa organization para ma-develop siya, na-strengthen ang mga katong nakita ng mga weaknesses. So, at the same time, maka-devise ang mga bago nga mga modalities para mas epektibo na mapasabot ang mga katuyuan sa among buhatan. Ang disadvantage nato is katong kakulangan nato sa experience sa pag-implement sa mga programs kaya sa pagkakaroon maingon manggod nato na limited ang atong movement. Ang atong naandan nga modality is to or was to go to the barangays, mga to sa mga baryo, mga tao, pasabot. Karon restricted na kita tungod kay doon na may mga regulations nga dapat nato control. Pero bisan pa niya na nagbuhat kitag mga pamaagi aron mas epektibo gihapon na nato pagpasabot sa mga tao. Ang palitan sa among opisina aron mas maka-reach out kami kung makatabang sab kita sa mga kliyente nato, gahin kami ng gamay na pundo para atong mga matagaan o mga implant o mga matawaran sa IUD sa karon nga pandemic, matagaan na pag-food assistance. So, balik ko na ako na dili nato himuon na reason o rason na ining pandemic makapahuyang sa atong pag-alagad sa atong mga katawhan. Labi na sa barangayan. Salamat.
Hello, good morning. Ako si Rebecca Tandayag Jaros, 53 years old, MPO o Municipal Population Officer dinhi sa lungsod sa Malemono. Ang pag-implementar sa family planning dinhi sa among lungsod sa Malemono, dako kaayo 110% ang pagkamaayo tungod kay ang mga katawhan dinhi labi na sa mga couples pag counseling about family planning, nagpasalamat silang dako tungod kay adunay pagkontrol sa ilang pagpanganak. Only ang disadvantage mao kaning atong pandemic, maninging COVID-19 kay dili naman tama ka gatherings pagtapok-tapok sa maong programa kay ado naman tay mga pandemic dinhi sa among lungsod sa Malemono. Mao na diferensya sa actual ug dili actual nga mga pag-counseling sa atong mga katawhan dinhi sa lungsod sa Malemono. So far, gikan sa karahatag down to kag tinai, ang mga couples nag-seminar gayon og family planning. Responsible person mao ang taga-RHU with our mga BBP, Barangay Volunteers, sa among pag-implementar sa maong family planning dinhi sa among lungsod sa Malemono ngadto sa mga couples. Kauban nako ang atong mga buutan maabtik nga mga barangay population volunteer. Maura kato akong ikasulti sa atong family planning. Daghang salamat kaninyo matinahoron.
The testimonies of the population officers just reminded everyone that the Philippine Population Management Program is shared to the local governments because the principle remains that every nationally designed development initiatives would always require the direct and active involvement of the local government units. Simply because the local government units know better than the national government of the existing condition of the community, the condition of the greatest majority of its inhabitants. And they know well the locality compared to the national government. For the success of the nationally designed development programs and budgets, the local government must always be with the national government. It takes two to tango, the national government and the local government units. And in this fight against COVID-19, the government, the national and the local government continues to work together. And as everyone, even in your own private or personal capacity, would sincerely and heartily help, of course, the soul of the government approach. Surely, someday, somehow, we could gain back our lives. We could still live in healthier, safer, and stronger communities. As long as we will continuously work and pray harder. Everyone, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay strong. May God bless us all.
Aangat tayo muli. Ito ang paniniwalang ating panghahawakan.